Hello learners of class 10. Welcome to the wonderful world of English language classroom. Learners, we are doing the third lesson, his first flight. Two stories about flying. The first part is his first flight, which we have done in our previous lesson. And now we will do the second part, second story, the black aeroplane. Learners, to do this lesson, to learn this lesson, with me is of course you and Kriti, Gautam. We will together do the lesson. What will you do? We read the lesson, understand the text, interpret it, do some activities in order to comprehend the lesson. So this part. This story, the black aeroplane, is like some mysterious story, lots of mystery, and also you will be feeling like some thrill, like a thriller movie or something like that. Okay, let me ask you learners and Kriti.
Yes, sir.
And how about flying? How do you feel when you fly? I'm not asking flying an aeroplane, but just flying like a bird. How do you feel?
It gives you a certain kind of happiness and energy to be at the top of the world and see the world beneath you.
So that's the thrill. Then how do you feel when you fly a kite? Have you ever flown a kite?
I have not, but I have tried, and the flying of the kite gives us happiness.
Fine. As it soars
Yes.
and takes off and soars high, we feel something you are achieving.
Yes.
So there is some thrill in flying. So learners, this story is telling you an adventurous flight by the narrator who is flying an aeroplane and gets into trouble. What kind of trouble? And someone strange comes to rescue him. So let's look at it. Before we move on to read the story and understand, summarize the story, let me ask Kriti to tell us the objectives of this lesson. Come on, here.
Objectives of the lesson. At the end of this lesson, learners will be able to read the text, the black aeroplane, with understanding and interpret the events and ideas coherently. Infer meaning of words and phrases in context and use them for purposes.
Fine. Learners, these are the two objectives we have set for you, and we will read, understand. So whenever we read something, if you don't read with understanding, it's not reading. So we say that reading is meaning making. We are going to read the story and make meaning out of it. Come on. Then what is the story about? Kriti,
Yes,
this is a
sir.
story. Here is a man who flies an aeroplane, who thinks that, oh, I should reach home to have my British breakfast. So he is at home. But he gets into trouble.
Yes.
He happens to encounter a deadly, huge storm.
Yes.
So that's what. Learners, let's listen to the audio of the story. The story is narrated in a very, very nice manner. Come on, listen to it.
The Black Aeroplane. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone, high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France, back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch. 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris Control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, "Paris Control, Dakota DS 088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England. Over." The voice from the radio answered me immediately. "DS 088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS 088, over." I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air.
Story is not yet over. I have stopped it in the middle. Kriti, what do you think would happen to the aeroplane? You have listened to the story that the man was flying from somewhere to somewhere. I am not saying you have to tell me. From where to where he was flying?
He was flying from Paris towards England.
England. Then, all of a sudden, what did he see?
He encountered a huge black storm with black clouds.
Now, he ramped into it in a way.
Yes.
But he says, I flew into it.
Yes.
Come on. So, learners, guess what would happen to the aeroplane?
It's very difficult to tell because after seeing the huge black clouds, we cannot make it if the aeroplane would be able to cross the clouds or what will happen to it.
It will be like thunderstorm, something
Yes,
will happen.
yes.
Or he may just get vanished in this
Yes.
one. And he never wanted to go back.
Yes.
There's some problem
Because
with that.
he was curious to reach his home as soon as he can
And to have
to
breakfast.
have the English breakfast.
Fine, right. Now, he also says, or I don't know whether it has already been narrated, or he can't fly back
Yes.
because there's no fuel.
Yes.
Okay, come on. Let's listen to the rest.
Okay,
Rest
sir.
of this audio. Come on.
I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Paris Control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. "Follow me," he was saying. "Follow me." He knows that I am lost, I thought. He is trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north, in front of my Dakota, so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Page number 39. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down, and I followed through the storm. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was, I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane? Up there? In this storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So, who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights?
Fine. That is the thrill of the story. Learners, you must have got it. I'm not going to ask you anything more because you have listened to it. Only one thing. How was he rescued? Should I say he was rescued?
We can use the word rescued because there was some power to who have helped him, and he was happy about it, but we don't know what actually it was.
Fine. Learners, we'll stop it there. Let's tell the whole summary of the story. We'll create the subtext. So, Kriti, we will alternatively read. Here is the subtext for you learners. Let me begin. It was in the night the narrator was flying an old Dakota aeroplane from France to England.
He looked at his watch. The time was 1:30 a.m.
He was going back home to be with his family.
He checked the last second fuel tank. He can't fly much.
So he knew that the fuel there is less. He can only reach the destination in England. He tried to contact the control room in Paris but could not establish contact.
Suddenly, he saw in front his plane a huge black storm clouds.
So he decided to go back to Paris, but he knew the fuel is very less to fly back.
He flew straight into the clouds.
Just ramped into the clouds, let me say. Yeah? Then he saw an aeroplane in the storm flying to the same side.
The pilot's face was very comforting and narrator was very happy to see him.
There was another aeroplane. The pilot of the black aeroplane was still flying ahead. He was not scared, so he also got into the storm and he was flying. Come on.
The pilot of the black aeroplane indicated the narrator to follow him.
Half an hour later, the black aeroplane was still flying ahead.
The black aeroplane turned towards north.
Now, the black aeroplane is almost leading, guiding the Dakota that the narrator is flying. The narrator followed the black aeroplane without any doubt.
The narrator felt afraid again as the fuel was finishing.
The pilot of the black aeroplane started coming down.
The narrator saw the runway lights.
The airport was visible and the narrator landed safely.
The narrator wanted to see the pilot of the black aeroplane and was looking for him.
But he did not find anything on the runway.
He went to the control room and asked the lady at the counter.
The lady at the counter said, there was no other plane flying at the time except the narrator's Dakota. Now learners, there is some mystery, there is some suspicion who led the aeroplane, this Dakota, to safe landing, what was that black aeroplane, and how that black aeroplane's pilot was smiling even he was in danger. So that is the thrill of the story. Learners, you will have to read the story at least once. I would ask you to read more than 2 times in order to understand. There are some inherent, suspicions,
Yes.
mysteries. The way you read Harry Potter story, something
Yes.
happens, So this is what. Come on learners, that is the summary. Now I'm going to give you some tasks with your basic, based on your understanding of the story. So as usual, we are going for true or false. 1, the learner was flying from England to France.
False.
False?
Yes.
Okay, where was he flying from?
He was flying from Paris to England.
Fine, I marked it. Okay, fine. The time when he took off the aeroplane was 1:30, means half past 1 a.m. in the night, midnight. Okay, whatever night.
Yes, it's true.
His flight was smooth till he saw the black clouds.
Yes, it's true.
The narrator was going on an official trip for his company.
True.
True? Does he say that?
He has not mentioned it.
So then how it can be true?
Yeah, it's false.
False. Okay, the narrator was going on an official trip for his company. No, he was going for, it's a personal trip. He's getting back home. His aeroplane had more than enough fuel to fly back to Paris.
True.
True? No, it was false.
Yeah.
Because he said he can't fly back.
Yes.
Yeah. The narrator took risk and flew straight into the storm.
Yes, true.
Fine. It's very courageous of him. Then he decided to go back to Paris.
False.
False.
He was heading towards his home in England.
And he decided to do that.
Yes.
He felt happy to see another aeroplane in the clouds.
True.
Fine. No, when we are lost and we are in trouble and you are alone, someone else also faces the same problem. So it's a kind of God sent thing. The pilot in the black aeroplane did not help the narrator to fly.
False.
False. He did.
He helped him.
And he even gestured him and smiled at him to follow him. Fine. The narrator was happy to see the pilot of the black aeroplane.
True.
True. The pilot of the black aeroplane guided the narrator to fly.
True.
The narrator followed the black aeroplane.
True.
True. The narrator met the pilot of the black aeroplane and thanked him at the airport.
No, this is false.
Okay, he couldn't find him.
He could not meet him, yes.
Fine. Thus, who guided this Dakota? The spirit guided the aeroplane.
True, because we don't know who that
But how come then,
belongs
if you
to.
do not know, how come that will be truth?
Because the lady in the control room said that there was only one aeroplane which was flying in the night.
Fine, but the question is, some spirit guided the aeroplane.
So this is true.
True, but for me it's false because we do not know. Because that's one. Second is, another black aeroplane guided him. No?
Yeah.
So then what is the spirit? So you assume that the black aeroplane is a kind of a spirit.
Yes.
Fine, okay. Learners, we are leaving to you, you take it. Now, who guided the aeroplane? This question has to be seen from the point of view of, you have read the story, the narrator who flew the Dakota met the lady at the counter. Then she says, no, there was no other aeroplane. Then who guided the aeroplane? Now, your thing may be true. Who?
We can't say because it was like God sent help.
Something.
So it can be a spirit or.
Okay, I am leaving it to you. You got the point. So your previous answer, I would accept it for time being right because there was no other aeroplane. There was no black aeroplane as per the records. Then where did that aeroplane go? We do not know. So some spirit guided him. Learners, multiple choice questions. We'll have 5 or 6 questions. The first question. The writer flew his aeroplane into the storm instead of returning to Paris because A. He wanted to surprise his family. B. He wanted to have breakfast with his family. C. The fuel was not enough for him to fly back to Paris. D. He badly wanted to be with his family.
The correct option would be option B. He wanted to have breakfast with his family.
Learners, is that right? Kirti may go wrong. Let me tell you, he says somewhere, I can't fly back because the fuel is not enough.
Yes, I forgot.
So what is that then?
So the correct option would be option C. The petrol was not enough for him to return.
Fine. Alright, that's correct. So learners, multiple choice questions are very important because it may make you think. It makes you think. So you'll have to read again and come back. The next question. The narrator was surprised to see A. The compass turning around and round. B. The way the aeroplane was misbehaving. C. Complete darkness outside the plane. D. Malfunctioning of all the gadgets and instruments.
So it's a very tricky question to answer, but I would say option A. The compass turning round and round.
So learners, decide. What about D? Malfunctioning of all the gadgets and instruments.
It can be also true because of the storm. The aeroplane was facing many other troubles, as it was also misbehaving, we can say.
Fine. So I'll take it. The first one, yes, he was, for the first time he saw, no, he was shocked and surprised. The compass was running around. It is supposed to show the direction.
Yes.
And without compass, aeroplanes and ships can't maybe sail. Fine.
Yes.
Okay, I take it A is the right answer. The other pilot wanted the narrator to A. join him, B. call him, C. follow him, D. fly with him.
So the correct option would be option C, follow him.
Okay, he was gesturing.
Yes.
So come on, he was smiling. Fine. 4. The narrator was glad to walk away from the old Dakota because A. he was not happy as all the instruments of the plane failed. B. he had reached to have breakfast in time with his family. C. he found his life more important than his desire. D. he was glad that he had arrived safe and sound.
So the correct option would be option D, he was glad that he had arrived safe and sound.
Fine. So it's more important than having breakfast with the family.
Yes.
Okay. 5th question. The lady in the control room gave a very strange look at the narrator because the narrator wanted to thank the pilot of the other plane. B. the narrator was talking about another plane he had seen. C. according to the lady, the narrator's talk was not making any sense. D. the narrator was traveling at odd hours.
So the correct option would be option A, the narrator wanted to thank the pilot of the other plane.
Okay, that lady who was at the desk, she was surprised and kind of confused and perplexed to see this man. He's asking about another aeroplane and it was a
Yes.
very strong. He said no aeroplane. But you said A, I take it, but what about C? According to the lady, the narrator's talk was not making any sense.
This can be true. Actually, this option is true because the first reaction of the lady was that the narrator was not making any sense.
Fine.
Only after that, the lady realized.
Then you said A, so I'm going to take
Yes.
both. Learners, that was the multiple choice questions. We have another task for you, small task. It will be interesting. Kiriti,
Yes.
this is speaking task, but we are going to follow some process then speak.
Okay, sir.
You have seen how the narrator flew the aeroplane, and when he started he was alone, but when he flew into the storm, black storm, then he saw another aeroplane, someone else guided. And which that actually there was no other aeroplane. That's what the lady says. Today you only flew. That Dakota was only flying. Then there is some mystery. Now I'll ask you,
Yes, sir.
who guided the aeroplane? Speak for 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you, you may work for a minute, putting down your ideas, then speak.
So, I think that while the aeroplane was getting into the storm, when he saw the black aeroplane, the Dakota flyer, the narrator, thought that it was someone. He did not thought, he knew that it was a human being who was flying the plane. But as he lands safely, when he talks to the control room lady, she says that there was no other plane flying that night. So that incident gives us the hints that who was flying it. So it could be a supernatural power who was helping him. It could be a spirit who was helping him, because he could see the face, and the face was very calm and composed and smiling, which came to be comforting to the narrator.
Fine, learners. Besides this point, that is, some supernatural element was guiding him, or God was guiding him. Besides that, any other point? I would say that there was actually some black aeroplane, which later when it came, it flew away somewhere else. I would say that. Learners, you think 2-3 possibilities and speak. Now I am going to ask you, whatever you have spoken, now speak it again and improve it and speak it. Learners, this we call it, you are working on language. So when you use the language, the same idea again, you speak better.
Yes.
It's not drilling, it is exercising our brain. Come on now, say it again.
So when the Dakota Flyer, the narrator, entered the huge black storm, he saw a black aeroplane and he thought that it would be a great help for him. But as soon as he landed and he talked to the control room lady, the lady said that there was no other plane flying that night. So we don't know who was the person or who was the spirit flying the plane that particular night. So we assume that it was a supernatural being who was flying that night, who helped the narrator rescue from the dangerous storm. It could be a messenger of God, we can say, who has helped the Dakota Flyer, the narrator.
Thank you very much, Kriti. Learners, this is how we start learning to speak well. Take small thing. Suppose describe this. We can have a kind of play at home and talk about this for a minute. And you should not use the same sentence more than once. Kind of some sort of like the television shows, talk shows. So you do it, so it improves. There are two things, learners, we must know. One is intra communication, and other is intercommunication. I am talking to you and Kriti. This is intercommunication between two persons, two agencies. Another is intra communications. Before I speak, as I speak, something happens to me. That's what the merit of language. You think, you interact with yourself, then speak. Sometimes when we prepare for interview and examination and oral examination and all, we speak to ourselves. So this actually develops our linguistic faculty, we call it language ability. So you do practice, we are young children, that helps you to improve ourselves, and this is what the singers do. They keep singing to themselves in order to attain that perfect level of melody or pitch, whatever you call it. So that, of course, they are not speaking, they are singing. Here you speak, so you will have to think and speak. So the way you can practice, you can pick up any idea and do it. So thank you very much, learners, for having participated.
Thank you, Kiriti.
Thank you, sir.
We will meet you in the fourth part of this lesson.
Till then, bye. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much.